can relate when I say that spiritual practice activates a kind of blissful energy? Not all the times, but sometimes at least. Who can relate to that? Yeah, yeah. This is exactly that. The Kundalini Shakti. So it's a form of Shakti, of the feminine principle that can be experienced. And the Kundalini energy, it's often referred to as a snake. Why is that? Because she lies coiled up in the base of your spine. At least that's kind of a little bit how it can feel. She lies coiled up in the base of your spine, and through spiritual practice, she begins to slowly move up along the spine, and she begins to burst through the different knots that are blocking our full human spiritual potential. There are called 3 granthis that the Kundalini can burst through, but I think there are even more, but this is just a way to categorize it. So granthis, they are called. You have one around your solar plexus, which could be related to your intuition, your creative capacity, also a little bit more linked to your sexual center. There's one around your heart, which obviously many people have a blocked heart from their trauma. Right? Trauma is what begins to block the Kundalini. Kids are vibrating with Kundalini. They're creative, they're playful, they're happy, they're radiant, but then we get traumatized and the Kundalini gets blocked. So the heart is one of the knots we want to burst through, from being closed off and timid and fearful of people and maybe very judgmental and harsh and not loving, to wide open, expanded love. And the 3rd granthi is at the 3rd eye, or at the crown, and it is the process of spiritual expansion where we begin to have a direct insight of this non-duality that we speak of this meditative state.
My experience when it was fully awakened, I needed help from an energy healer to close it.
Right.
Because it's just too overwhelming to be so open here.
Right.
I didn't know what to do with it.
Right. Yeah, so they also speak of the Kundalini ascent, and we also need the Kundalini to kind of descend, to kind of like from being blocked. We might do, maybe, for example, it can happen during an intense spiritual retreat, it can happen during lovemaking, which is very related to life force energy. It can happen maybe when we finally shared something we're very shameful about, which was a very big block in our system, or after trauma healing. Then the Kundalini can become activated, and we might not be ready at all to have so much energy all of a sudden, because our body was used for many years perhaps to be in a state of kind of dullness. This is also why we do so much pranayama and yoga. You can prepare the body with the breath holds and the awakened energy and the asanas to be able to hold all this energy, because when she finally comes, you all of a sudden you might find yourself so blissed out and you don't know what's happening to you, and you just, from one day to the next, you from a bit depressed, you look just out into the most wonderful world you could imagine. Your mind is empty. You have very strong energetic experiences with people. You might, for example, have a little moment where you lock eyes with someone that also has their Kundalini active, and you just both together like kind of burst into wanting to hug each other, or you fall in love, or it can be very intense when you are going through Kundalini awakening. Yes.
So is it seen as a binary, awakened versus non-awakened?
The Kundalini?
Yeah. Because that's how it's being described by people.
Yeah. I think that's way too. That's people try to box it way too much, because it just moves in mysterious ways. And for some people, she ascends, and then it's kind of like a clear process, and you kind of ground it down. For some people, she ascends, and you go back into dullness, and she ascends again, and it kind of stagnates all the time. Yeah. For some people, it's experienced as crawling up the spine in one go, literally during a meditation. For some people, they never experience her crawling up the spine. So it can happen in all kinds of ways. But maybe the simplest way to describe it is that there's a potential of how activated we can be with life force, which is creativity, which is zest, which is sexual power, which is these different physical health, digestive fire. This is like the full expression of life force. Mainly the question is how far am I in that potential, and how much am I able to stay a little bit stable at my full potential of life force energy.
And so the assumption there is that people have different potentials as well.
Yeah, it will express for everyone in different ways, I guess. Or not, I guess, for sure, right? But everyone is our bodies are already very different. When we have a lot of creative energy, you might make music, I might write poetry, you know, like it will express on everyone differently. You might become really powerful when your Kundalini is fully awakened. You might become a little bit powerful when your Kundalini is awakened. Does it answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's also really important to, which I find fascinating that this is not more clear in modern yoga, is how strongly Kundalini and yoga in general is related to our sexual energy. If you look into the Hatha Yoga text, the main source from which all modern yoga stems, it is kind of almost all related to holding as much as you can your sexual energy here, to transcend your animalistic desires, and to, even like with these pelvic movements and breath work, to invite the energy to crawl back into the body and to become activated. So it's really, really strongly linked. And you can think about it like this. Just the fact that we are alive, that there is life, is the product of procreation. So it's one and the same energy. So the expressions of Kundalini energy are sexual energy, creative energy, health, digestive fire, our ability to digest foods. So you have, for example, yogis in India that are have a very strong energy body, very activated Kundalini, and they will demonstrate their power by eating poison, and to show how well they are able to digest that. And they do digest that. Or they will take a handful of LSD and nothing happens to them. Things like this.
So with Kundalini then, you can have it and be awakened without knowing, of course. Let's say you never learn about it, like the children example you gave before.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't need to do yoga to have Kundalini. You also don't need to do any asanas or pranayamas to have Kundalini. Everyone has Kundalini. It's like a potential that's either dormant, somewhat awake, or fully awake, everywhere on that spectrum. So you will see that, for example, many musicians or artists will have quite a lot of Kundalini, to have some kind of radiant energy, a kind of magnetism, because their creative energy, the only reason they can be artists is because their creative energy is flowing, which is an expression of Kundalini. And everyone that has a kind of strong magnetism is usually quite vibrant with this energy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this person is also spiritually awakened. So they might be completely identified with their mind and be stuck still with judgments and with illusions and with chasing things out of delusion. Spiritual awakening will quite surely lead to Kundalini awakening, but the other way around, not per se.